Hi, everybody. This is Iftekhar Pathan. I am the co-founder of Meraklis Technologies, and we are doing this online summit. Today, I have a special guest with me. My guest has had an illustrious career in sports. He is also the CEO at JSW Sports and doing a fantastic job. In 2002, he won the bronze medal and made all of us and the country very proud. I welcome Mustafa Ghouse. Welcome to the online summit.
Hi, Iftekhar. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
It's our pleasure. So let me just start. Though most of the people know you, but the audience that we have today are the NGOs and social entrepreneurs all over the country and outside as well. And they would like to know a little about yourself. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where do you come from, your education, and so on and so forth?
Sure. I'm from Bombay, born and brought up. I got exposed to the sport of tennis when I was 4 or 5 years old. My family is absolutely obsessed with the sport. My dad, my uncles, my grandfather all played tennis, and I guess the apple didn't fall too far from the tree, and I was hooked onto it. From whenever I could remember, I wanted to be a professional tennis player, and that's what I pursued. I had the opportunity of going on and representing the country for many years, and like you mentioned, won a bronze medal at the 2002 Asian Games. Had an opportunity to win another one in 2006, but we fell short. But yeah, have been involved in sport and in tennis my entire life. Last 6-7 years, I've been after I stopped playing tennis, moved on into wanting to see what I could do with sport and how I could bring all those learnings and all that experience and all the opportunities that I had as an athlete, how I could further pass that on to future generations. And was lucky to get introduced to the JSW group at that time, and they are very passionate about sport and were very keen to start a sports vertical within the group. And the journey has been very, very exciting since 2012. Towards the end of 2012, where we have a two-pronged approach to our sports vertical. We have a very strong CSR program with regards to Olympic sports and how we can help Olympic sports grow in India. We feel that there's a massive requirement to see that really reach the true potential that it has. And we also have a commercial side to things where we own and manage professional teams in the various leagues that are running in India. We have a team in the football Indian Super League from Bangalore. We have a team in the Kabaddi League, the Haryana Steelers, out of Sonipat, and we recently acquired 50% in the Delhi IPL team. So, have both sides. Ideally, the dream is to earn as much as we can and pump it back into the CSR programs, because that is the core of our entry into sport. We have built an Olympic training center, which we're very proud of, and we support a lot of athletes there free of cost from underprivileged rural background, as most of these talented kids are from. And looking forward to really growing that out on both sides.
Sure, fantastic. I'm really impressed with the kind of work that JSW is doing. And before we get to what exactly you guys are doing and what's your holy grail in terms of what do you want to achieve, a little bit about yourself in terms of a sports person to a professional. So how has that transition been, and what are your learnings, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. The thing was that I was a sports person, plus I was in an individual sport, so everything was circled around me. As an athlete, you are the center of the pie, where the coaches, the trainers, the physios, everyone works around your requirements and your needs. But then moving into a corporate system, and one that is so big as JSW, that was a lot of transitioning for me, where you're a very small piece in a very big pie. And it's been a good learning. It's been very, very, very interesting to see how big corporates function, the systems, the processes, and even though a lot of it is not very, very relevant to sport, because sport is a totally different industry. But we've tried to incorporate as much as we can into our sports vertical, and which is probably why we are considered one of the most professionally run sports outfits in India, and are always, I mean, even when we present ourselves internationally, there's that very similar response that, we're very surprised to see how a sports business is being dealt with such corporate structures and governance, etc. So it was challenging, no doubt. The first few years there was a lot of learnings for me, but I think now we've found our feet and everyone respects the work that we're doing internally and externally.
Fantastic. So I'm sure some general skills like team, being a team player, strategizing, and having a discipline, all this I'm sure you get onto the table as far as the corporate world is concerned.
Yeah, I think sport teaches you a lot. It teaches you focus, it teaches you dedication and discipline and determination, and most importantly, it teaches you how to deal with victories and losses. I think that's something that is just too valuable a learning. And especially in a sport like tennis, where every week we are playing another tournament, you don't have much time to sit back and celebrate your wins, or mull and sulk over your losses. So you really have to. Sometimes it's literally just one night. You get a night to celebrate, and you have to play the next tournament from the next morning. So I think that's something that really makes a big difference when you have that. And I think the other thing I really feel is a differentiator is the ability to deal with pressure. You are exposed to so much more from such a young age, playing matches, playing tournaments, that some of the stuff that you see your colleagues getting pressurized about don't really make that much of a difference. So I think it's very special to be coming through a sports background.
Yeah, very well said. So do you want to touch a little bit upon the sports world in India? Though we are a company, we have a frenzy of cricket and we play so many different sports. And what is your thinking as a sports person about the sports world that we as a country live in?
No, I think it's evolving a lot. It's been progressively growing and improving in even the last 5, 6, 7 years that we've been actively involved in the management side of things. There are some sectors where we are front runners. Obviously, cricket and the type of money that we see and the power and control that we have over international cricket is no one can come close. That being said, we are seeing a lot more coming through the Olympic sports now. A lot more money coming through, a lot more performances coming through. So I think all in all, very bullish and very positive about the sports scene in India. We definitely have a long way to go. If you have to compare to the heavyweights of US, China, your UK, Australia, they are very far ahead in many sectors within the industry. But I think we're moving in a good direction. There seems to be a lot more importance also being given by the government in terms of the importance to development of sport, grassroots initiatives, whether it is the Khelo India program or the Fit India movement. There seems to be some sort of inclination to try and encourage sport a lot more. And also a lot of state governments making announcements of wanting to build infrastructure, build institutes, etc. for the growth of sport. So I think all in all, we're quite bullish about how sport is shaping up in India.
Yeah, very well said. So it is very heartening to see that the government themselves are doing policy changes and they're taking interest in building the requisite infrastructure that is needed.
Yeah.
And I see a paradigm shift, like you said, that sports are being, they're coming on forefront, and there is the infrastructure policy coming from the government to support that, and
yes.
Then it becomes real. Otherwise, we keep talking about it. It's great that JSW, or corporate, getting into it, so that can get a lot of professionalism in the sports world. So, what are your immediate plans, and how do you sort of what's the idea basically?
Well, I think the idea is to the vision and the goals when we started off was to see India do better at the Olympics. That was the sole intent with which we started off the initiative, and we have plans in place for. I mean, we would have been 2020 Tokyo Olympics, but obviously that's next year. We have plans in place for the Paris Olympics in 2024 and the Los Angeles Olympics in 28. So there's a whole roadmap for all our athletes, depending on their age group and their expected years of maturing and peaking. And also adding to that, we have a commercial side, like I mentioned, where we have investments in the top 3 professional leagues in the country, where we also feel that through these investments, we can professionalize things. We can bring in many best practices that can even further enhance those leagues and see the sport grow even more. You know, from our perspective, when we first got involved in football, it was extremely unprofessional. There was a lot of poor systems in place when you talk about team management, player management, science, training, technology. There was none of that. So everyone had to fend for themselves. People were just doing whatever the hell they felt like. So we've been able to bring in best practices from top European clubs, bring in better level of training, coaches, science, bring in all those things. And there's been such a massive jump in the way football is perceived now in India. So we're looking at all ways and means to help grow sport, basically.
That is excellent. So, talking about the NGOs or the social sector. So,
Yes.
what do you think their role would be in the world of sports as NGOs, and maybe the social entrepreneurs who want to do, create a career in sports?
Yeah, I mean, see, I think they play a very, very big part. The inclusion of sport into the CSR Act, the Companies Act, was a huge game changer for a lot of these lesser recognized sports in India, than the small Olympic sports, which were getting little to zero funding and zero financial support. At least through this CSR route, now they are starting to get funding. It is very, very small if you look at the overall scheme. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, last year's numbers, India probably had like 12,000 crores of CSR contribution through a bunch of 200 odd corporates, and only 200 crores was given to sport, which is about 2% of the whole thing. So it is a big number for sport to be seeing 200 crores pumped into Olympic sport and development, but there is a lot more that we could gain from seeing more money coming into through the CSR route. So I think from our perspective, we just look to encourage more and more people to look at sport. It is challenging because India as a country, we have a lot of very core issues like healthcare and sanitation and food and medical, etc. That people prefer to education, that people prefer to utilize their CSR money on. But sport plays a very, very big role in nation building and in soft power, and we keep trying to encourage more and more corporates to get associated with us through sport.
Fantastic. I think with the corporates as like yourself, you're doing a great job to further the cause of getting more people to spend for sports, because unfortunately what happens from the time 2013, all the corporates were mandated to do CSR piece of whatever they're earning.
Yes.
Like you said, it's been 12,500 constantly for about 3 years. 19 it dipped a little.
Yeah.
But sports spending per se is very less, like you said. So is there anything specifically that JSW is doing for that issue?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very happy to say that we have in the last, so we started our program in maybe 2015, 16, around then. We have about 23 other corporates that are contributing to our program with us in terms of various small pieces of the overall program. And we're happy to see how they start off with a small check, but they get so attached and they like what we're doing, and they like the impact that it is having on the kids and on the development, that they then further add to that amount and increase their contribution to the program. So all we can do right now is to keep educating donors and keep presenting ourselves in front of them, showing that the positives of contributing towards sport. The advantage that we also have is that being a very fluid program, we can tailor make our proposals to fit the CSR mandates of a lot of corporates. So we try and squeeze ourselves into education, we try and squeeze ourselves into skill development, we try and take advantage of the girl child programs that a lot of corporates look to fund. So we try and tailor make our proposals to make sure that we're achieving what their mandate is, and at the same time achieve and getting the contribution that we need to grow out our program.
Wonderful. I like the way JSW is going about doing the corporate side and the social side. So you have the corporate side where you have invested in franchises and teams, and the other side you have the foundation.
Yes.
And there is so much of talent, and like you rightly said, when it's sports, it's not just the sports issue. There are a lot of issues around that.
Yes.
And we saw that example of Jyoti Sharma, who cycled with her father during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so there is talent, and then immediately the Cycling Association offered her that he'd like to train her. But I think there are a lot of other issues on her mind than just going for a training there. So I think you're doing a great job there. So could you tell us a little bit about the foundation side of things as well?
Sure. So I think the main question that we felt we needed to answer when we were launching our Olympic program was that, and I say this from personal experience as well, that we tend to lose direction or lose focus when at a very crucial stage in all our sports journeys, because of 3 or 4 very key reasons. And that crucial age is when you're 13, 14 till you're about 19, 20. That is the time when you have to take the decision that, hey, I want to do this full time. I want to make this a profession. No more fun and games. This is plan A for me. And it is also the time where you otherwise have to give your attention to studies and exams and 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard, and all that type of stuff. So we felt that at that age, Indian kids don't have the right guidance, right infrastructure, right financial support to take that decision. And there are many, many kids that are extremely talented till they are 12, 13 years old, but for a whole host of things, wrong training methods, outdated training methods, injuries, bad recovery to the injuries, surgeries, all that type of stuff, or most of all, no financial support, that they decide to stop pursuing that dream of being a professional athlete and move on into something which is more safer and more tried and tested. And we felt that if we could adopt these kids at that age and give them all of this along with an education, we will see better results in the years to come. And that's what we have done with the Inspire Institute of Sport. We have built this training facility, which is on par with any of the facilities in the world. We have very, very recently been included into the Asian Sports Science Association, Sports Institute Association. We're the only Indian institute, and we're the only privately funded institute. All the others are government-funded institutes. And we currently have about 175 kids that are training there, living there. They go to school for half a day. They train morning, evening. We have coaches from different parts of the world that are living here full time. And then all the ancillary support that they need, whether it is your sports science, your physiotherapy, your strength and conditioning, just your psychologist, your nutritionist, everything is provided for to these athletes free of cost. And they have to do just one thing, which is get out of bed and get better and train. So that is the objective. And we're very happy to see how things are progressing.
Wonderful. I think exemplary work being done there by you and your group. What I would like to also touch upon this, are there any synergies between the social sector and you as a corporate? Are there any opportunities for them that they can work with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're always open. And like I said, we're always open to customizing programs and customizing objectives. We're now looking at something where through our swimming program, we might look at a skill development thing for just normal kids, because at the end of the day, swimming is a life skill, and you want to provide that to everybody. So we might be looking at it. We're looking at opening up a program which is not just for the want to be professional swimmers, but just regular kids, so that they get to learn to swim. Similarly, skill development on the coach's side, or the trainers or the physios. So we're doing a lot of stuff that we can help other social initiatives get better. And yeah, I mean, from our perspective, it's a very holistic approach that we look to adopt for all the kids. So be it their education, be it their recreational stuff, planting trees, they have to do all these things as part of their everyday routines.
Fantastic. And what is your plan? I mean, do you have some sort of a strategy to look at the rural areas as well? Because a lot of talent comes from there. We have seen in the past as well. So how do you sort of identify your talent, and what is the criterion?
So 90% of the talent is definitely coming from rural India, be it Haryana, Punjab, or the northeastern states, which is just bursting with talent and hardworking kids. But our scouting, initially we went into all these places, and we literally set up these talent identification camps for 1 week, 10 days, where all the talented kids, or whoever felt they had a chance, would come and get scouted and evaluated by our coaches and our trainers. And then we selected the best 150, 175 to come to the institute. Now we don't do it to that extent, because now that the institute is up and running, we bring everybody to us. Whoever is interested in being associated can write in to us, and we have certain windows in the year where we bring a bunch of kids and we evaluate them, and we see whether they are better than any of the others that are already there. And then we look at taking decisions. Though as of right now, one of the challenges we have is that we're at full capacity. We would ideally like to increase our capacity now to 300 beds, and then have another big intake of athletes.
Wonderful. So I have a couple of questions from the viewers, and I'm just going to read out the first one.
Yeah.
It is from Robin Nirvani. He's a consultant and has posted that, good afternoon, couple of questions. Heartening to witness that JSW has invested across multiple teams playing in different leagues. Has there been integration of back-end operations, or each setup remains independent of each other?
No, there is definitely an integration. We have a lot of common teams that work across all three leagues. The lucky part for us is that they don't really overlap. So how it usually plays out is that you have the IPL April, May, that then leads into the Kabaddi season, and then that leads into the football season. So while we do have some individuals that are dedicated to their respective teams because they are specialists in those sports and they are needed full time, the rest of the teams work across the board.
Wonderful. And the other part of his question is, what are the activities currently being undertaken considering the sports has come to a standstill? So one of the questions that I was supposed to ask you, or I'm going to ask you, is that there is a lot of disruption because of the unprecedented COVID times. So have you tweaked your strategy? What is happening right now?
So it's a little difficult to tweak the strategy lock stock, because at the end of the day, sport is about outdoor activities and it's about events, and people want to come and see and watch live sport. So as of right now, as like we're starting to see internationally with the Premier League kicking off a couple of days ago, Bundesliga starting a little before that, and some of the other leagues in Korea, New Zealand, Australia starting, a few weeks back. That slowly, sport is starting to get back on its feet. And while we are looking at tweaking our strategies in regards to certain revenue generating opportunities that we were earlier reliant on and will now have to deviate from those and look at other opportunities. We are still waiting and quite confident that all three leagues will take place towards the latter half of this year. So once that happens, then some of the conventional stuff comes into play, and yes, certain new things like technology and other fan engagement ideas will also get activated.
Okay. So we have a lot of social entrepreneurs as our target segment as well. And some of them are interested in tech for sports, maybe. So can you just throw light on what do you think? Or how important is this tech?
Oh, it's very, very, very important. The more you study businesses abroad, sports businesses abroad, they are all very reliant on tech. We aren't yet there in India. And I mean, we can see that across multiple verticals within the industry. There is the tech on performance side of things, which is further improving athlete performance, team performances, and analysis, evaluations, etc., recoveries. So tech is playing a big part in that segment, and then you also see tech playing a big part on enhancing the experience for fans, enhancing whether it's in the stadium or back on the television. There's a lot that's starting to come into play, even from the analysis of your fan base, analysis of your marketing strategies, and that's all tech based.
Fantastic. So we are, as you know, Meraklis, who's responsible for doing this summit, is looking at sports CSR as a large part of our scheme of things as well. And we definitely like to sort of get your experiences and your thoughts on that.
We'll be very happy to hear that more and more people are starting to look at sport from their CSR perspective, because I think that Nelson Mandela said that it has the power to change the world, and we've seen that time and time again. And his reference was South Africa winning the Rugby World Cup, but we've seen what it can do, whether it is India winning a Cricket World Cup or Sindhu fighting for gold or Abhinav winning gold, or just other day-to-day stuff. There's just so much of an impact that sport has on everyone's lives.
Absolutely, Mustafa. Very well said. So what is your message to the youngsters? Though you touched the topic a little bit, but boys, like I have two boys, and I always feel there is paucity of infrastructure near the place that I live in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do we, though there are a lot of smaller places sprouting everywhere in the country, but what do you think? I mean, how do we, because see, sports per se is not considered as the acme career choice.
Yeah.
So the parents always say that why don't you sort of look, like you said, 10th and 12th, and then getting into looking after career. So, but I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities. So what is your genuine response to these people, and what do you want to say to the children, basically?
No, I think, I genuinely believe that everyone has to follow their gut and their passion in life, and they have to do what they absolutely love. Otherwise, they will be miserable and unhappy with themselves. And I totally understand the challenges that parents face with regards to allowing their children to pursue sport when they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think that my only suggestions right now is that it's changing. The landscape is changing. There is so much happening which will provide more opportunities to kids, whether to pursue sport as a career as in from a competitive perspective, or pursue sport as a career from a management and a behind the scenes perspective. So there is a lot happening now on both fronts, and if it is genuinely their core interest and that's their passion, they have to find ways to pursue it. I interact with so many people that are in various different sectors: banking, doctors, engineers, and they're like, I wish we had these chances to pursue sport as a career, and they're extremely envious of the situations that we are in. But hopefully, kids down the road will not have those regrets.
Absolutely. It's good to know that the landscape is changing and they'll have more opportunities and they'll be able to pursue sports as not just as a sports person, but maybe doing something in the sports world per se.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you see that abroad. You see so many people that are working with sports organizations that are not former athletes or have never really, are just recreational players. They just love being associated with sport, and that was their passion, whether it is on the sales side, marketing side, or even just operations. So it's only a matter of time where that's all going to happen in India as well.
Absolutely. So in the last couple of months, everything has come to a standstill and there is, a lot of disruption. So what have you been doing? How do you are you working from home?
Yeah, we have been working. Initially, we were working from home. Now, since the last week or 10 days that Maharashtra government has allowed us to start getting back out into office, we've been going in with very skeletal staff, with the 10% rule for private offices. But it's been quite interesting. While initially everyone was a little flustered in terms of how things would function, but like you have put together an online summit, we have been working non-stop as well to make sure that we are as well prepared for when things open up, where and looking at new opportunities, looking at new verticals. So it's been pretty busy, I would say. It's not been very relaxed time.
I know. We thought that it'll be home, but you're stuck to Zoom meetings and so much to do.
Everyone is online, and it's changed the perception of how work can be done. And the thing for us in sport is that we've always known that as long as you're online and your phone's on, work goes on, and there's no Saturday, Sunday in sport. A lot of days, match days are Sundays, and you have to work all the way through that. So we were quite busy all the way through.
Yeah, fantastic. Good to know, and it's good to be busy in such times so that you remain sane as you work as well. So the other thing is, do you have a sort of an academic plugin for the things that you do in terms of skilling, or do you have your own? How do you manage the education piece?
I mean, this is for the athletes or in general?
In general, for your own, as a corporate.
Yeah.
Because normally what I have seen is a lot of people go and tie up with the IITs or IIMs, and there are some sort of SOPs or domain experts getting into. So the education bit of the business that you do is what I'm referring to.
Yeah. So interesting question, but I think that's something that we're heading towards now, of looking at that vertical within our portfolio of activities. Up until now, we were, I guess, still very, very engrossed in the core base that we were looking to solidify. But I think now we are experimenting and looking at evaluating on the education side of things. We do a few smaller programs, whether it is from a strength and conditioning perspective or a physiotherapy perspective. But we've not gone into it in a very holistic way, and that's something that is on the cards for us.
Fantastic. And what is your, how do these NGOs and social entrepreneurs, because there has been paucity of funds, all the funds, the CSR funds which were available. So in 2019, it had gone down. So from 12,500, it went to something roughly around 8,500, and then COVID hit. So, and whatever funds that the CSR have now gone towards COVID, so they're struggling. So What do you think the NGOs and social people do?
It's a tough time. I'm not. There's no. I guess hiding behind that fact, and it's tough across the board with corporate sector and with CSR sectors as well, because like you rightly said, that the entire corpus has diminished, plus as a priority everyone is diverting large chunks of their CSR spends towards COVID relief, and finding solutions for the current pandemic and the problems that we are facing. So it is definitely very, very challenging right now. I think everyone needs to find a way to just hang in there, because once this passes, we will be back at looking at the businesses and the verticals that we were all focusing on. And more importantly, once the economy lifts and gets better, there will be more that hope that 8,500 goes back to 12,500 and more is what we all have to be working towards and hoping for.
Sure thing. I think everyone has to hang in there and make sure that they just survive this year.
Yes.
Till they come back to the economy comes back to normal. And before we let you go, I just want to know, what is your personal, I like your disposition, I like what you're doing, I like that calm that you have. At the same time, you're doing exemplary work. So everyone's curious to know, what is your leadership style? How do you lead?
Good question. I have no idea. No, I mean, I think it's been, I don't know if I don't know what my style is. I just, a lot of the guys have been with me from the start, from day one. So it's a very small core group of guys who are very passionate about sport and about doing what we're doing. And I think I kind of, let them all do what they're doing best, and not too interfering in seeing them grow and achieve their goals. At the end of the day, you have to empower and trust your team to deliver.
Fantastic. Very well said. So, I mean, you're doing super work. We're very proud of what you've achieved in sports, and I'm sure you're doing great professionally as well. And the times these days, everything is disrupted, but we wish you a fantastic journey in the coming years. And thank you very much for being a part of the Meraklis Online Summit. And we'd like to, not just us, but the audience who've seen and heard you today, would definitely like to reach out to you and look at possibilities of working together. And,
absolutely. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And I do wish everyone all the best in these very tough times. Stay safe, and hopefully we see the back of this very soon.
Sure. Thank you very much. God bless and stay safe.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.